Hello everyone, welcome into Deacon's NFL Talk. I'm your host Deacon. Welcome back to another episode on the channel, episode 55 on the channel. This week, it might be another long episode, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't. So this week we have 3 topics of NFL news, but all of them are obviously must talk about topics. After that, we have 7 quick hits. That's 2 shorter compared to last week, so I should be able to beat the timer this week. We have some signings as well, nothing crazy. Probably about 7 signings this week. We have a lot of cuts to get to. I'm telling you, there's a lot more cuts and signings. After that, we're adding a new segment to the mix called What If. Basically, it's like, what if this or that happened? After that, we'll get to the quiz and then the question of the week, and that will sum up episode 55 on Deacons NFL Talk. Alright, fun. We're going to jump right into this one. So, to start off, like we've been doing for the past month or two, we are starting off with the main topic. And honestly, this is undoubtedly the main topic this week. The Steelers are trading George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys for draft picks. Alright, so this is a topic that actually popped up. I think it was really early in the morning. I believe it was like Wednesday morning, Wednesday at like 7:30, something like that. And man, I literally woke up in the morning, went to check NFL news and everything, and I saw this article pop up about George Pickens being traded to the Cowboys. And I was shocked, honestly. I was very, very shocked. And honestly, it helps the Cowboys, honestly. They've been needing a wide receiver too for a while. I mean, don't get me wrong. Really has nothing to do with Ceedee Lamb slowing down or anything. I mean, Lamb's not going to be slowing down anytime soon, in my opinion. I don't think he will at all for the next few years, honestly. But honestly, even if you're a Cowboys fan, whether you are or not, honestly, if you've ever watched the Cowboys, they obviously need a guy that is capable of, freeing up Ceedee Lamb, get him open. Because, I mean, Brandon Cooks, he's not really that guy. He's getting older. I mean, they really don't have anybody else besides him. I don't even think he's on the team anymore. But you're getting a guy like George Pickens. And I know there's some, I don't know if you will, character concerns. Nothing crazy, just more of attitude, He can kind of get, he can start, getting in arguments with fans. And we all know who George Pickens is. I don't really need to go into deep detail about who he is or anything. But the Cowboys will receive George Pickens and a 2027 6th-round pick for a 2026 3rd-rounder and a 2027 5th, according to ESPN. So, yeah, really, the Cowboys, honestly, I don't really think that either the Steelers or the Cowboys lost this trade. I think this was a win-win trade because, for one, the Cowboys not only get George Pickens, who, in my opinion, has some of the best hands in the league, unless you watched their last game of the year against the Bengals. You get George Pickens, and then you get a 6th-round pick, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, a 6 isn't the best thing ever, but it's also not the worst. And then if you're the Steelers, you get a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick. A 5th-round pick obviously is not as good, or is better than the 6th, but honestly, it's one of those assets that really isn't too terrible in my opinion. But if you had to pick just one winner, I would probably pick the Cowboys on this one. Because like I said, I was shocked that when I read through it and what the deal was worth and everything, and who got who or who got what. I was shocked when I saw that the Cowboys got an additional pick to the trade. To be honest, I thought it would just be George Pickens, and then they'd trade a couple, maybe even 3 picks. But no, I guess the Cowboys actually got another pick for next year's draft. In 2027, so 2 years from now. But the Cowboys will now have a solid receiver 2 alongside Ceedee Lamb after being projected to draft 1 in the draft. So yeah, I mean, obviously, because this is a good segue for what I was gonna read next or talk about next. But Dallas was reportedly interested in making this trade during the draft, so that's probably the reason they went with Tyler Booker with their 12th overall pick, the guard out of Alabama, who really isn't too great in my opinion. But this is probably the reason they went with the guard, knowing that they could still get George Pickens after the draft or maybe at some point later in the draft. Honestly, I feel like that's kind of why, or kind of the reason that they decided to go that direction. It's a smart move by the Cowboys. I've never seen Jerry Jones do something this smart in his life, honestly. But yes, this is really good for the Cowboys. I mean, he has just 1 year remaining on his rookie deal, so that means he can either sign with Dallas this offseason or potentially next year's as well. So we'll see. I'm sure right now they're just kind of focused on, other things right now. I mean, training camp is starting in July, so they have 2 months from now. Rookie mini camp is underway. But yeah, stuff like that. I feel like I wouldn't be shocked at all if Pickens actually got a deal this offseason. But really, wouldn't be shocked either way, honestly. But yeah, it's a really, really good trade for the Cowboys here. Like I said, if I had to pick one team that won this trade, I would pick the Cowboys. But in my opinion, I don't really think there were any losers in this trade at all. So we're going to go into the second topic. The Ravens released Justin Tucker due to a football decision. The reason I say that, some of you probably know about this. I didn't really talk about this at all whenever it popped up. But yes, the Ravens released Tucker after 13 seasons well spent with the team. Obviously, we all know 2024 was not quite what Tucker had in mind. Really, anybody had in mind. The best kicker in the league, one of the best, if at the very least. But I mean, man, like, just thinking back about it, like, he missed so many big kicks. Like, the one I remember specifically, or the couple, I guess, against the Steelers in, like, the best rivalry in football, in my opinion. But, like, that game in Pittsburgh, Tucker missed, like, 3 to 4 field goals, something like that. It felt like a lot. Maybe it was not as much. I just remember he missed some big ones. Then against the Bengals, I mean, a missed extra point in Baltimore gave the Bengals a chance to go on and win the game. So if he would have made that, then the Bengals would have been in the conversation to win that game. I forget what week that was, but it was a really good game in Baltimore. But yeah, I mean, obviously we all know about how Tucker was accused of inappropriate behavior by 16 different massage therapists. He has denied the allegations, but that's why I bring up the football decision part of it. That's the reason I brought and John Harbaugh even said, I'm quoting John Harbaugh, due to football decisions, I quote John Harbaugh. He said, him and I believe the GM of the Ravens said that it's gonna be a decision. It's coming down to like a football decision, not the outside world, like I just talked about. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if there's a team that's interested in picking Tucker up. I mean, it's one thing to release Justin Tucker after a really good, solid year, but it's another whenever he has these allegations against him and struggled in 2024. So really, he's not in a great spot, honestly. Actually, in fact, he's in a terrible spot. I mean, he signed with the flashback about his career in Baltimore. He signed with the Ravens in 2012 as an undrafted free agent and owns the longest field goal in NFL history with 66 yards. Has been named to 8 Pro Bowls, the highest field goal percentage in NFL history, 89.1%, and helped the Baltimore win Super Bowl XLVII. So, I mean, he's accomplished a lot of things, especially as a kicker. When you can accomplish everything I just read off. I mean, to go from an undrafted free agent to the best kicker in NFL history, potentially, that's pretty wild. I mean, everything I just read off just shows you how great he is. But obviously, like I mentioned earlier, in 2024, he did struggle immensely compared to in the past. I mean, he made a career low 73.3% of his field goals, which led the Ravens drafting a kicker for the first time ever. Not since the Justin Tucker era, but since ever. Like, they've never drafted a kicker before. They drafted Tyler Loop out of Arizona. So obviously they had a backup plan, whether they were going to release Justin Tucker or not. So that was a smart move. Obviously, after this happened, a lot of people speculated what was going to happen next. Since they drafted Tyler Loop, everyone was like kind of uncertain whether Justin Tucker would be on the team in 2025, and now we know he's not going to be with the team next year, which is going to be crazy. I am interested to see which team is going to pick him up. That's one thing that I'm going to keep my eye on. That's going to be the one thing that's going to be on my radar. I haven't heard anything about Justin Tucker since like the release. I haven't heard any interested teams yet, so we'll see as the week goes on, maybe the next month or so. I mean, as of right now, it's really kind of dead. So, like, I wouldn't be shocked if Tucker's signed a few months, maybe a month or so before that maybe before the preseason starts. I want to say the regular season, but the preseason at the very least. But we're gonna go on to the last topic. All right, it was not a lot of NFL news this week, but the Rams agreed to a 2-year, $84 million deal with Matthew Stafford. This isn't like a contract agreement or a extension, if you will. This is a revised contract earning $44 million in 2025. So, yeah, this isn't like exact. I guess technically it's not a new deal. It's the same deal technically that he was on whenever he signed his most recent deal or whatever. But they're really just like kind of not restructuring it, but revising it, if that makes any sense. But there was this is the crazy part. There was speculation earlier this offseason about Stafford and the Rams potentially going separate ways. He was also given permission to seek a contract with a new team. So there was a lot of drama earlier this offseason about Stafford and the Rams, whether he would return to LA or not. After all that passed, it kind of died down a little bit. And now here we are. They're agreeing to a 2-year, $84 million deal. It's not technically an extension, though it sounds like one. It's a revised contract. So he will be with the Rams for at least 2 more years. So up until, 2027? Yeah, so after that, Stafford doesn't sound like he wants to retire. But Stafford says he wants to play for 3 to 4 more years before retiring, which he'd be roughly 40 years old. So really, even if he leaves the Rams after this deal, don't be surprised at all to see him on a new team. I don't know which team that would be. Obviously, that's in 2 years, so who knows? We might see a new quarterback needy team by then. So we'll see where he ends up after the Rams. Who knows? Maybe he'll actually sign another deal with the Rams for a couple years and call it good in LA. Honestly, don't be surprised though if we would see Matthew Stafford after this contract go to the Lions. Not to replace Jared Goff or anything, but just to retire as a Detroit Lion. I honestly would not be shocked by that at all. But yeah, Stafford and LA reportedly have started negotiating the deal during the combine. So this started a while ago. It's just I don't think, at least I didn't know about this until the article popped up this week. So yeah, who knows? Maybe I missed it or something. But yes, Matthew Stafford is going to stay with the Rams for at least 2 more years. So they're going to get a good amount. And honestly, I think the Rams are going to be pretty solid as well, in my opinion. I think, yeah, I mean, you have Puka Nacua, you have Devontae Adams, you have Kyron Williams, Alaric Jackson on a new deal. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Rams. But I think they're probably going to be, honestly, I think they might finish first in their division because their division kind of sucks now with the 49ers losing everybody, the Seahawks losing everybody as well, and the Cardinals. They'll get there at some point, but I wouldn't say anytime soon. So, with that being said, we're going to go on to quick hits. We've hardly been through this episode at all, so we'll see how much time we have left. We're going to pull up the timer. I kind of forgot to pull that up. But yeah, 7 topics of quick hits. Last week we had 9. I think this is the week where I do it. Well, actually, the streak ended last week with the 9 topics, and I had like 2 or 3 topics left after the first 7 maybe. So we'll see. We might hit the buzzer on this week. Let me see. We have actually a few long ones, so we'll see where I finish this week. With that being said, let's do this. All right, here we go. Washington, D.C. set to host the 2027 NFL Draft. The announcement was made in the Oval Office with President Donald Trump. The 2025 NFL Draft saw over 600,000 fans attended at the event, which is second most only behind. Hold up. My timer didn't start. Okay, we're going to redo that. But the timer did not start. Technical difficulties. We're going to run through that again. All right, here we go. Washington, D.C. is set to host the 2027 NFL Draft. The announcement was made in the Oval Office with the President Donald Trump. 2025 NFL Draft saw over 600,000 fans which attended the event, which is the second most only behind the 2024 NFL Draft, which saw 775,000 fans. Browns veteran linebacker Devin Bush arrested for a simple assault. Bush is being accused of simple charges, assault and harassment charges. His preliminary hearing is May 20th. Bush had played for the Steelers, Seahawks, and Browns. Julian Edelman to be elected into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Edelman becomes the 37th member inducted into New England's Hall of Fame. In his career, Edelman racked up 620 catches for 6,822 yards and 36 touchdowns in 11 seasons. Raiders rookie quarterback Tommy Mellott could play multiple positions. Mellott has received many comparisons to Julian Edelman, speaking of him, for his ability to switch from quarterback to wide receiver at the NFL level. Mellott could be used as a wide receiver, kick returner, or quarterback. According to the Raiders college scouting director Brandon Jurgen, he says, "I would say we view him as a receiver," quote goes on. Dallas Goedert agrees to reworked contract with the Eagles. After exploring trade options during the draft, Goedert will now remain as an Eagle for 2025. Goddard tallied 42 receptions, 496 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Panthers released defensive end Jadeveon Clowney after 1 season. Carolina drafted Nick Scorton and Princely Umanlian on day 2 of the draft, I believe, from Tennessee. In 2024, Clowney recorded 46 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 4 pass deflections. Last one, Panthers placed Jonathan Brooks on the physically unable to perform list, ending his 2025 season early. Brooks has played just 3 games in his short NFL career. Brooks tore his ACL in college. Then he tore the same ACL in Week 14 against the Eagles this past season. If a player is placed on the physically unable, basically on the PUP list this early in the offseason, then they cannot return the whole year. However, if he was placed on the start of the training camp or Week 1, then he could return. Got it. With like 2 or 3 seconds left. I was speed running through that last sentence or whatever. Just to clarify, let me run through that again in case you couldn't hear it. If a player is placed on the PUP list or physically unable to perform list early in the offseason, then they cannot return the whole year. But if they do, or if they are placed on the PUP list at the start of training camp or Week 1, then they could return later in the season. Just to kind of get through that. I told you it was going to be a buzzer beater at the end of it, and we did it. We pulled it off. So, with that being said, we're going to go on to signings and cuts, or roster moves, if you will. But the Ravens signed tight end Sam Pitts. Eagles signed wide receiver Giles Jackson. Cardinals signed tight end Josiah DeGuara. I believe I said that right. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Chiefs signed safety Major Williams. Colts signed linebacker Joe Bachie, the former Bengal, reuniting with Lou Anarumo. Titans signed defensive tackle James Lynch. Seahawks signed defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins. That's all for signings. We're going to get to these cuts. Eagles cut running back Tyree and Davis Price. Packers cut wide receiver Tulu Griffin. Chiefs cut wide receiver Justin Lockhart and safety Will Brooks. Seahawks cut defensive end TJ Jackson and linebacker Jackson Woodard. Jaguars cut wide receiver Gabe Davis. That's a big one. Cowboys cut wide receiver Seth Williams. Titans cut wide receiver Tay Martin and linebacker Kyron Johnson. The Rams cut defensive tackle David Olojiga. Panthers cut wide receiver TJ Luther, wide receiver Dax Milne, tight end Cole Granger, tight end Jordan Matthews, offensive lineman Andrew Rayum, defensive tackle Popo Amave, defensive tackle and defensive tackle Jared Clark. Sorry for pronouncing any of those names wrong. Dolphins cut offensive lineman Chasen Hines, defensive tackle Neil Farrell, corner Ryan Cooper Jr., and long snapper Blake Ferguson. The Giants cut defensive lineman Casey Rogers, and the Jets cut wide receiver Marcus Riley, wide receiver Aesop Winston, and linebacker Jimmy Chiarlo. I believe I said that right. But that is all for signings and cuts. Just to double check, we're going to go through, look up, see if there's any more updates for NFL news before we go on to the new What If segment that we're going to be starting. Hopefully to do often. I mean, not consistently or anything, but hopefully we can do it quite a bit. But here we go. I'm not going to get to this draft pick signings because there's a lot of those, and we really don't need them. Maybe we will do undrafted free agents. The Bengals signed defensive tackle Dante Barnett out of England of the International Player Pathway. The Bengals also signed defensive tackle Howard Cross III. Browns signed defensive lineman Aiden Huntington. That's really close to Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson. Let me see if there's anything else. There's a lot of draft pick signings. I will say that. Colts signed kicker Maddox. I don't know. Trujillo. He's an undrafted free agent. And the Colts cut offensive lineman Antonio Mafi and defensive lineman Valdarius Payne. You are really these are testing me with names. The Raiders signed corner Greedy Vance Jr. Chargers signed quarterback DJ Uiagalelei from FSU. I think he has a chance to be a star, but really didn't prove it in college. The Chargers also cut off outside linebacker Chris Collins. Let me see if there's anything else. I'm just trying to get through all the signings and cuts so we don't have as much next week. The Jets signed quarterback Brady Cook, the quarterback from Missouri. That's a good one there. That's all for signings and cuts this week, though. So, with that being said, we are going to go on to the new segment. We're going to go on to What If, all right? So, basically, I kind of got into what the segment is about in the intro. But basically, what if, it kind of says it in the title. You kind of figure out what it's going to be like. But, like, what if this or that happened? Who knows? If this happened, would we be in a different scenario than we are now? So, this week's What If is, what if the Cowboys drafted a wide receiver in the first round? Think about it, okay? Maybe we wouldn't see a scenario where they have George Pickens right now. Maybe that's a scenario we can be in. Like, let's say this. George Pickens was never projected to be traded. George Pickens was never supposed to be traded. Let's say, all the cons that the Steelers have about George Pickens and all that, they said, you know what, actually, we're going to keep this guy. So, let's say what if the Cowboys drafted a wide receiver in the first round? What if they went with Matthew Golden? Who was available. Terrell McMillan was off the board. So, what if you get a guy like Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka, guys like that you could have gotten in the first round? Maybe the Steelers wouldn't have gotten rid of George Pickens. Maybe they would. I doubt they would have ever traded George Pickens if they got a receiver. So George Pickens, at the moment, we would be able to see that crash out duo that we all wanted to see. Fortunately, we never had it. Really, actually, I'm not even a Steelers fan, but that disappointed me a little bit. But what if? Like, just think about it. I'm gonna stop saying what if because I feel like I've said that 10 times in the past 2 minutes. If they got Matthew Golden and Ceedee Lamb, which I think are two somewhat similar receivers, we wouldn't see George Pickens get traded to the Steelers. We just wouldn't. Okay? And honestly, whether he got traded or not, I really don't have a problem with it. Okay? But when I saw that, I was like, no, we never got to see the crash out duo between Pickens and DK Metcalf, which I feel like everybody wanted to see that. I mean, they even have Darius Slay and Will Howard for crying out loud. Honestly, why don't we call them the Pittsburgh crash outs at this point? But, just thinking about it, they would never have been in this position. Like, let's erase the fact that the Cowboys never had any trade talks with the Steelers about Pickens. Like, they were hands down going with a receiver in the first round. George Pickens would still be a Steeler, okay? Whether you like it or not. Honestly, if there's any Cowboys fans watching this, I want you guys to either comment or just let me know. Would you have rather had George Pickens or Matthew Golden or Emeka Egbuka in the first round? It's like, would you rather draft George Pickens, or I'm all mixed up today. Would you rather draft Matthew Golden or Emeka Egbuka? I'm just trying to think of the other receivers. Because, is Egbuka really worth the 12th overall pick? That's the thing. I don't know. But let's say Matthew Golden is number 1 on your receiver board. If there's any Cowboys fans watching this, would you rather trade for George Pickens or draft Matthew Golden? Just something to ponder. Sorry about I'm just really slow today. I'm losing it. I'm all mixed up today. But honestly, just a question to think about. Like, what if the Cowboys actually drafted like Matthew Golden or something like that? Which honestly, I wouldn't be shocked by if they actually did it, but I feel like it was more fitting to see him and go to the Packers. The roar of the crowd. Because really, who else was like in that draft class, like at receiver, that could have gone, that is worthy enough to go in the first round? You could make the argument for Luther Burden, but I don't know, because he obviously went in the second round, early second round. So they could have gone with Luther Burden at number 12, but I feel like that's a reach. So yeah, but yeah, just a what if. Just think about that. That would have been crazy though. What if they did go with Matthew Goedert? I'm just still kind of thinking about that right now. Like, wow, that would have just changed the entire thing, which is crazy. But yes, that is the new what if segment. Let me know what you guys think of that new segment, and we're gonna go on to the quiz. This is the shortest episode that we've had in a long time. The last 30 minutes or shorter we had was, I believe, the Super Bowl preview back in February. Yeah, that was 28 minutes. Since then, we've had 38, 37, 45, 44, 42, 34, 35, 44, and 40. So this is going to be the shortest one, so we probably shouldn't make this one any longer in case you guys are getting impatient. But this week's quiz, honestly, it was tight at the end. But you know what? I got the job done again. I did it again. How many states do not have an NFL team? 27, 29, 28, or 26. The correct answer was 28. It was a nail biter at the end. Honestly, there was a lot of correct answers. The home stretch of 3 days left until this week's episode. So at first it was looking like, oh yeah, I got this one in the bag, and then more and more kept picking 28, and I was getting nervous. But 29, 8%, 28, 25%, 26, 29%, and 27, 38%. So yeah, you guys were close. You were just one state off. But here we go. The streak is gonna start from here again. Because last week we could have had 4 in a row. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So the streak is gonna start right here, right now. Get excited because it's gonna go on for the year. Just a hot take. I'm not gonna mess up a single quiz until the season starts. I'm calling it right here. Until the season starts, I'm not gonna lose at a quiz. I'm telling you, it's not gonna happen. Anyway, question of the week. This one was a landslide in the poll, but this week's question of the week was releasing Justin Tucker the right move for the Ravens? Yes or no? It was not even questionable, whether you guys would pick what or not. Honestly, if I had to pick in this poll, I'd pick yes. Most of you did that. No, 8%. Yes, 92%. I agree with you I agree with all of you who said yes. I can see why some of you said no, to be honest. He's the greatest kicker of all time, in my opinion. So that would just be, if I had to pick in this poll, like I said, I'd pick yes. But yeah, a landslide in the poll this week. So yeah, hopefully next week we'll have a much closer poll, like the one last week when we had Brock Purdy. The Brock Purdy question, should the 49ers trade Brock Purdy? That one was intense. But yes, that is this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the like, the subscribe button, and the notification bell to get notified of every single upload this channel makes. Check out last week's episode where I talked about Shedeur Sanders' dramatic slide, which ended in the 5th round, going to the Cleveland Browns. That's a good one. It's 40 minutes, so it's a lot longer than this one, but I'm telling you, it's a must-watch. I highly suggest you guys check that one out. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week for episode 56 on Deacon's NFL Talk.